The cold wind stung my skin, biting through my coat of tan fur as it fought against the barrier of snow reaching up to my belly. The only sound my focus was on were the distant howls of the wind, swirling the freezing blizzard through the air to the point of generating pure whiteness, or on an animal unfortunate enough to find themselves in that surrounding. I clung to what once was a blanket on my back, now tattered and worn from 2 days of wandering to the mountain of Shiver. Once again, I attempted to summon at least the frailest flame to give myself the luxury of not freezing to death for a split second, the attempt only leading to one drained spark. Even a magic wielder like me was overpowered by the storm of a snowstorm. I had to prove my loyalty to the Council. After the demise, the event willed by mystery which resulted in the demise of the Alphas under mysterious circumstances. Then elite Jamassians going by the name of the Council took over Jama. I had only gotten to meet 2 members of the Council once, slowly after my parents' disappearance. Judging by their builds, I had safely assumed they were a horse and a feline, but their heads were hidden by dark hoods, to the point of their faces seeming like blobs of shadow underneath them. The color of the fur was an equal mystery, as they were dressed in black gowns and cloaks connecting to the hoods, but the key aspect of their appearances were necklaces of red gems embedded in silver around their necks. The horse asked a couple of questions, those moments to this day being the most intimidating conversation of my life, and they both left me to be raised by a family loyal to the Council until I was ready to serve them. This time I was to finish the mission my parents had started, the mission that led to their demise years ago, retrieving the ancient Alpha Sword, only spoken about in legends. Going by the weather, it would be a miracle if I even made it out this storm alive, let alone obtain the sword. Judging by the clusters of snowflakes blocking my sight and the frigid wind, the blizzard was nowhere near its end. I shivered under my soaked blanket, the edges already starting to stiffen along with the tips of my fur. I made one last desperate attempt at summoning a fire, but I was aware of my helplessness. I collapsed onto the ground, curling up into a ball. I am going to inevitably die, just like my parents.
How do you know how to treat a frozen animal?
I know a lot of things, Azel.
Why are we even wasting our supplies on a random fox we found?
I know that no average animal would be taking a stroll around Shavir in the middle of a snowstorm.
I awoke to worms. The hardness of the stone ground was the second thing I noticed, but I opened my eyes, grateful for the warmth I never thought I'd feel again. I opened my eyes to what I assumed was a cave, the voices I'd heard originating from a tunnel to my left.
She's up!
A feminine voice startled me as I attempted to stand up, bringing my attention to a cream-colored koala settled around 3 paw steps from me. Her navy cloak was tattered in places and the flower in her hair was missing a few petals, but my attention was on the fabric tied around her eyes. I assumed she was blind, but that wasn't explaining how she sensed that I was awaking, unless... A lanky light brown deer, likely Azel, emerged from a tunnel, wearing a cloak that had likely once been red, but had taken the color of a pale reddish pink after a long time of exposure to weather. Sensing his annoyance with me, I avoided looking into his eyes.
I suggest we talk to her.
Another feminine voice suggested, awakening more suspicions in me. These animals may have saved my life, but their further intentions could have been questionable. The darkness of the tunnel revealed a she-wolf wearing the oddest outfit of the 3. What once may have been an elegant suit now seemed tattered and ragged in places, and combined with a black cloak in a similar condition, she gave off the impression of a wacky magician.
Greetings, Fox. My name is Rose Freesia, and we have some questions for you to answer. Next to me is Azel, and that's Miriam.
The wolf smiled reassuredly, handing me a cup of tea. Still suspecting her, I fought off the urge to sip the tea for my own safety.
You seem to be freezing.
The deer interrupted, attempting to be seen as casual. The sudden change in behavior seemed alarming, not easing my anxieties. Very well noticed, I retorted, though I likely shouldn't have. I had already made up my mind that I didn't enjoy his presence. Rose shot him a glance as he backed away, then continued as if she hadn't been interrupted.
Miriam's clairvoyance indicated toward an unexpected visitor, so Azel and I decided to investigate. Seals knows what would have happened if it weren't for her. Luckily, you weren't frostbitten, just exhausted. You must have journeyed for long. Look at the condition of that thing.
She pointed to the tattered remains of my blanket, held together by a few shabby strings as I backed away, still warily observing the tree. Clairvoyance. That's how she knew I was up. That could mean...
Here, have my cloak.
Before I could object, Rose wrapped her cloak around me, warmth surrounding me almost immediately. I glanced around the cave, equipped with a cooker, a table, and a shelf of dishes, a fire crackling in an attempt at a fireplace in the corner near an intersection of tunnels. You guys live here?
Well, yeah, we've been settled here for quite some time. Pretty sweet place, right?
Even for an animal who spent days in the brutality of Shiver, sweet was no word to describe the appearance of the attempt at a home. Anyone living in a cave system in Shiver was either completely mad or dabbling in something illegal. As for these animals, both possibilities could seem realistic. It took me a second to realize that her extended paw indicated a combination of a handshake and a helping hand at getting back to my feet. I reluctantly accepted, simultaneously introducing myself. The name's Katrina Beryl. I was sent on a mission.
Beryl?
All the enthusiasm from Rose's face vanished. Miriam let out a silent gasp as Azel took a step towards me, clearly intrigued.
Ray and Bernard Burial? The last magic wielders?
It seemed odd that something as specific as that was even familiar to animals like these. Their sheer existence was kept secret from Jamasians for ages, yet these animals seemed so alarmed by my statement. My parents, though they died almost 10 years ago. The animals' faces indicated no surprise, only seeming to be recalling a bad memory.
They're at it again. How couldn't we have known Ray and Bernard's child wasn't with them when...
As Azel spoke, the anxiety in his voice grew more and more noticeable.
This just means we still have hope.
Everyone in the room turned to Miriam, who hadn't said a word since the beginning of the conversation.
I suppose so.
Rose began, but was immediately silenced by Miriam.
If we have a magic wielder on our side, that maybe even makes us strong enough to fight them.
The conversation arose even more questions, so I had to take action. Them? Who are they? Azel flinched as Miriam clasped a paw over her mouth, but Rose seemed to be devoid of all emotion.
The council.
Rose answered without a second thought, sending chills down my spine. No, the council is on my side. They rule over Jama. They know what's best for us.
Well, what if I told you that the council planned out your parents' deaths when they became too independent for them? What if I told you they wanted to do the same to you after finding you a threat as well? The council are not nice animals. They will kill, lie, and cheat to get their way.
The emotion in Rose's voice was clear, the disrespect towards the council obvious. No, you're lying. Why would I even trust you? You live in a cave for Mira's sake. Still, they couldn't have gotten the information without having some connection to the council, which kept even the most foundational information from the public.
Because we used to be a part of the council!
Azel shouted as Rose flinched and Miriam scooted to a corner.
Don't trust me? Have a look at this!
He reached for one of the many spacious holes in the wall, dragging out 3 necklaces of red gems embedded in silver. Impossible. You stole these, didn't you? You... Rogue members of the council. My mind took time to comprehend that concept because these animals were nothing alike my image of a council member. A blind koala, a grumpy deer, and a wolf with an odd fashion sense were the exact opposite of my interpretation of a cold and rational council member. But how? Even without my question, Rose began talking.
Azel and I were there since the council's foundation 20 years ago. We were young, scared, and in danger of phantom attacks when a few elderly animals suggested the foundation of the council. At first we were going with its ideas for a perfectly controlled society, but we took time to mature and fully grasp the reality of the council. They are not nice animals, and they do not care about Jamal. They only care about conquering as much as they can and incorporating it into their perfectly controlled society. Maria and Bernard were magic wielders, loyal to the council but refusing to join us. They had a child who was born a couple of years after we joined the council. We conversed about their plans, but Azel and I never got to witness when...
Rose sighed, pausing for a moment before continuing her story.
When Miriam was born 15 years ago, she was intended to replace a clairvoyant council member who died shortly before, but due to her blindness and malfunctioning clairvoyance, she was deemed unfit to rule and sentenced to death at a young age. It was only then when we came to terms with the reality of the council and faked 3 deaths: mine, Azel's, and Miriam's. Over the years, Miriam's clairvoyance and connection to the council showed us brief images of Shema today. We got to know about Rhea and Bernard's deaths 10 years ago, but we never thought they gave their child the same treatment we had.
I couldn't dare to choose whether the reason of the emotion Rose's story was awakened by the courage of her and Azel, or the sheer fact that our childhoods had been so similar, raised to serve the council. So what do we do now with all this information? There must be a way for us to end this once and for all. Rose and Azel seemed to be over their momentary emotional outbursts, standing there as if they'd been telling the story over and over for ages. Rose smirked mischievously, as if she'd just gotten an idea.
So we have 3 former members of the council and a magic wielder.
To my relief, Miriam and Azel seemed just as clueless as I was, though Azel seemed to be connecting the puzzle pieces invisible to me. "What do you want us to do?" I asked. Rose glanced over all 3 of us, the smirk not leaving her face as her gaze stopped on me.
I say we get that alpha sword and overthrow the council.